8. And so I kind of give you a little summary of what's gone on so far. The Israelites have left Egypt, and they have been camped at the base of Mount Sinai for about 9 months now. It took them 3 months to go from Egypt. Just see if I can get my brain back on this now. From Egypt down to Mount Sinai. Am I shaping that right? Because they're here and here. Is this the Med? No, that's looking at this. There's the Med Sea. All right. And here's Israel as we know it over here, and here's Egypt down here. Right? It took them about 3 months to leave Egypt and go way down to the foot of Mount Sinai. So that's how long it took them to travel down there. They have a lot of people. They have approximately 2 million people. A lot of those are children, babies. There's women hauling babies. There's women who are pregnant. There's people bringing their goats and their sheep and their stuff. And there's just a lot. It would be like packing up your things, putting it in a cart or on your back, and travel by foot through the desert. So that's where they're at. They're down there. They've been down there for almost a year. As at this point in the story, it is first month, first day. So this is a year later, first month of the year, first day of the month. They have about 2 weeks till they're going to celebrate their first anniversary of Passover. Okay, so the whole book of Leviticus takes place in these 2 weeks. Right. So we got 2 weeks to pull this off, and most of the narrative is in today's lesson. It's just Moses giving God giving instruction to Moses on how to do this and this and this and this and this, and what they're going to do after this 2-week time. But for this is right now where we're at. So they've been there. It took them. So they travel down there. They're down there it takes 3 months to get down there. They're not down there very long, and Moses goes up on the mountain for 40 days. And God gives them the big 10 commandments, and he speaks that out loud, and everybody hears that. When you read Exodus chapter 20 and you hear the 10 commandments, that's God's voice. That's not Moses' voice repeating, that's God's voice. God's voice like shakes the world. So it's absolutely terrifying to them. This is their new constitution. It is their new covenant with God. It is what they are going to sign. It's a legal document, so to speak, between them and God. And when they say yes, they made an agreement with God. I'm saying yes. That's pretty big, you know. So Moses goes up on the mountain for 40 days. So if Passover is, and I'm going to pick a random date, okay? 1st of April, our time. Then we are now April, May, June. It's July. He's up on the mountain, okay? I'm just trying to give you a clue of what's going on. They still see the smoke and the whole thing. The mountain is still up there, but they revert back to Egypt and their Egyptian way of thinking that they have been raised for the last 400 years. And they go, we need a God. And the God they pick is the bull, which is, I almost know it. Horus? Anyway, that's the one they pick. And Aaron, Moses' brother, who is 3 years older than Moses, shapes it out of their gold jewelry. Okay. So he comes down so we're now like a week into August, because it's a 40 days. I'm trying to get the timing here. We're a week into August. Moses comes down. He sees that the covenant is broken already. So he breaks the covenant. Now there's all kinds of fury and anger, and this is a righteous anger. This isn't like just Moses getting mad and throwing the thing off to the side. This is a very righteous anger. He is representing, he's the go-between between them and God, and they have just broken the covenant that he is trying to mediate. You understand? So he breaks that covenant, and there's all kinds of fallout from that, and there's 3,000 Israelites that die that day, and then he goes back up on the mountain for another 40 days. So if we were 10 days into August, that puts us 10 days into September, that puts us 20 days into, we're at 3 weeks into September. When he comes back down, he has the instructions for the tabernacle. Between, I don't know how you guys look at your calendars, but if this is January, and between here and here, they have to build the tabernacle. So it takes them about 6 or 7 months to build the tabernacle. You look at this thing and you go, how did they get that done in that time? Well, there is 2 million of them.
Yeah.
So there's quite a workforce, and at least 600,000 of those 2 million are workable men age, all right, between 20 and 50. Because that's the army that they have, and that's the standard. So those guys can be doing that. So yeah, that could get done in that kind of time, and it does. And now it is 2 weeks short of the first anniversary of Passover. And the tabernacle is finished, and the people are all camped around. I love the pictures that show the people camped around. But this looks to me like there's all of 300 people camped around. You know? Imagine that's 2 million people camped around. This is one huge, huge area. But dead center in the middle is this. And the whole point is that the whole center of their entire existence, their culture, their thought process, everything is supposed to be the Lord God. It is the center of everything they think about. So now, here's the problem. You got an absolutely perfect, holy God living here amongst a group of people who think and act and worship like Egyptians. And that's not going to get flipped easily. Even the golden calf is not going to flip out your old thought process. Have you ever tried to remove some negative thought processes you learned from as a child? And how often do you flip back into it? You know? It's just really hard to get out of that. So there's this process that they've got to go through to start changing their thinking. And that's Leviticus. So that's why they go through these. And you read through it, we read through it, we don't think like that. So for us to go in there and go, they have to do this and this and this and this, and they have to kill the thing here, and they have to put the blood here, and they sprinkle this here, and they do this, and they take this one and put it here, and this. We got to realize that their frame of reference is Egyptian worship. And Egyptian worship does all this stuff in an entirely different way. Okay? So God is reframing their frame of reference. I don't know, I don't have another illustration in our culture to do that. Like, I don't know, take us out of our culture and throw us into communist China, you know? How do you think? Anyway, so that's what's going on in Leviticus. And so here's this very, very, very holy God living in the midst of an incredibly sinful people. And that is no different than the world today. That is no different than us today. It's just that we get to see it played out. Okay? So, how does one of these people walk into here and survive? Because to walk into the presence, if sin walks into the presence of God, it's dead. Straight up, nothing else about it. If sin walks into the presence of God, it's dead. That person's dead. There's And can the person do anything about it to get that out of them? No. So there's got to be a process that God's going to do. And so there's this chasm. What they need, here's the holy God. And here's the sinful man. And here's the chasm. You guys have all seen this illustration. And then what we usually see is a cross laid across here. Okay, well, we don't have a cross yet. So what we need between here and here is a mediator. Okay? For this to work, this mediator has to be on the level with man. In other words, he has to be a man. It can't be God. God can't go over there. Okay? So it has to be a man. At the same time, he has to be perfectly holy as God. Otherwise, he can't do this side of it. So he has to be completely human, but he also... All right, this is before Jesus Christ. So how are we going to pull this one off, right? Okay, so that's what the mediator is, and he is going to represent God and God. And I actually, it's on my list. I have this list. It's a the kids tease me, my list is like miles long. I said it will take eternity for me to ask all the questions on my list. But one of my questions is, why Aaron? Aaron is the one chosen to be that. Yeah. Okay. So they're going to call this person a priest. Until Aaron gets into position to be the priest, Moses is being the mediator, and then he will remain a mediator between the people and God for his entire life, but a lot of the mediation is going to be passed to Aaron. Well, how does this work? Yeah? Okay, so he has to, if you guys ever look at my notes, you'll see sometimes she skips over huge parts of it, and sometimes she spends forever on a verse, okay, on a line. So I'm sorry about that. And if you're curious as to why, I have the verses in different colors. That's just a game I play with me up here, so that I can glance down here and I know which ones are Hebrews, which ones are Leviticus, and which ones are all over everything else. Okay, so red is Hebrews, green is Leviticus, and all the other verses that I may pull out of the Bible are blue. And sometimes I don't color them right. Like I go through there and go, oh my goodness, that's Hebrews and it's green, and this is supposed to be green, and I get all freaked out over it. That's already been printed. You already have it. Anyway, that's the thing there. So that's, if you want to know what that was, that's just a game I play. Okay, so technically Aaron can't be a priest because he's not perfect. He has, and we know, it's been in the story, he's very sinful, all right? So he has to be made ceremonially clean. So this is a process they're going to go to take a sinful man and let him be in this position. And that's called being ceremonially clean. So Aaron will continue to sin. He will continue to do wrong things, but there's a process they can go to. And as they go through that process, we're going to find out that it is a huge type of Jesus Christ. The process itself is a type of Jesus Christ. The end result of Aaron being ceremonial clean is a type of Jesus Christ. It's all over. Okay, so it's all over this story, how much there is pictures of Jesus Christ. A type means a parable a picture, something when you say this represents this as a direct representation, that's a type. So when John in the book of John says that, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, everybody there pictures the Passover lamb dying so that people can get out and be redeemed and from slavery, right? And he says, Jesus is that lamb. So that's called a type. It's called typology in study of Latin stuff. So there's that. That helps you explain that. Helps explain that. So they are going to, I should cover this. Jesus is qualified to be the high priest. He is really human. He's not sinful. He's really human. He's human in the same condition that Adam was before the fall. He's completely human, which means he has free will. He can make decisions. He has no sin, but he has all that. And he is, this is an important point only because in the New Testament times, there was this huge heresy going around that Jesus was not really human. Remember that from the Acts class? He was not really human. He just appeared to be human. He was really only on the God side. But he also has to be God because he has to be able to be equal with both parties. Okay? So, the big trend in Christianity today is that he is this, not the sinful part. He is this, but he's not this. That's all over the place. He might be a lesser God. He might be, but he's created a lesser God. So, early in Christianity, having him be man was the part they had to focus on. Now we have to focus on this. Is he really God? Did he claim to be God? Is that what he is? So, you see, it's really the same issue. He's got to be both. That's called, in theology, the hypostatic union, which is another big thing I would love to explain to you, but I don't know that, and we'll get through. But that's a neat thing called the hypostatic union. It's coming up in the 9 a.m. class, and so we'll see. I just happen to know that. So he is qualified. He's the real human. He's really going. So now you see the scene. The people are all there. It's time, the tabernacle's done. Moses has been told how to do all the sacrifices. So all the instructions are there. And this is day one. Day one of tabernacle worship. Okay, so here's how we're going to start. Day one. So Moses will do these sacrifices as he sanctifies Aaron. So he's going to get Aaron ready to be the high priest. So Aaron can't walk into the Holy of Holies now. He won't survive. But he's got to go through these ceremonies so he can do all this stuff. So we're on chapter 8, and the 12 tribes are around there. Sinai is still in the background, although the glory of God has moved into the tabernacle. The pillar of fire and the cloud are over the tabernacle, and Moses brings Aaron up. I just feel for Aaron. It's like, yeah, but God, I built the idol. You ever have had time in your life when God asks you to do a big thing and you go, yeah, you probably have chosen the wrong person. Yeah, so I just identify with that a lot. So these people, God is over this and finding out where I'm at. Oh, and they got to get a bunch of animals. This day is going to be exhausting. They've got to have, he's going to get a bull, 2 rams, and a basket of grain and thing. And they also, I told you last week that they offered 2 bulls every day. I was wrong, it's 2 lambs every day. Okay, just let you know. They offer a lamb in the morning, a lamb in the evening. That has to happen every single day. And for those of you who have done any butchering of wild animals or of deer or anything like that, it's hard work, and that's what these guys are going to do. So I told you last week that I helped butcher 3 deer in one day one time. I cannot imagine, okay, a deer is nothing compared to a bull, right? Right? So he's going to bring in a bull. Like we talked last week, bulls are probably not volunteering for the job. Okay? They're probably not walking in willingly, and they're not small. And they're stronger than the people pulling them in. Bulls are what? 1,300 pounds? Is that what it is? Something like that? Okay. A non-castrated bull, which has all of his oomph in him still, is not going to want to come in easily. All right, so Moses has to take this bull. I just picture corralling, holding the bull down. And Moses is going to kill the first bull. And he is going to sacrifice. This is a sin offering for Aaron himself. So he's going to sacrifice this, and Aaron is going to put his hands on the head of the bull and say his sins. And everybody is there. I built an idol. Yeah, that doesn't, yeah. So Moses kills the bull, and if you read through it, how it's going to go is that the first few verses are going to tell them what to bring. Get these things in here. You need a bull, you need 2 rams, you need a pile of basket of the unleavened bread, and then it's going to say a few things, and then it's going to say, and then he took the bull. Okay, so it's the same bull. Get that? So you first read through that and you go, another bull? What's this? And who's this? And it's just a little tricky to keep track of. Okay, so he's going to take the bull, he's going to kill the bull, and he's going to take some of this blood and he's going to start sprinkling it on the beautiful silk woven, tremendously gold covered tabernacle. It's going to be this incredibly beautiful work that is a copy of what's in heaven. It's going to get sprinkled with blood 7 times. So he is going to sanctify this itself. It's not the one in heaven, it's a copy of the one in heaven. It was made by people who, have you guys ever sewn anything? Mm-hmm. Have you ever sewn anything, a dress or anything, and it didn't quite fit? All the time. Oh, yes. Yes. You ever had to? So, I know it's made perfectly, but still, humans made it. So, he has to sanctify it and get that perfect. Okay, so that is a ritual thing that once it has that blood of it, this is now set apart as a holy place. Which means the average person can't go, man, I'm curious, I want to go see what's inside there. That's not okay. All right? That's not going to be, that you can't do that. Okay, so Aaron can't even go in there yet. And he's supposed to serve in there, so he has to have the bull for his sin. And then he's going to have the other ones that are going to be offered, and his sons are going to be there. He has 4 sons. They are Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Abiathar. And they are going to be the ones who help carry out all this stuff. And you can see, because they got to kill just on this day, they got to kill a lamb, because this morning, they got to kill a bull, They got to kill 2 rams. They got to kill, and then they got to kill another lamb. And there's more to it than that. So I'm already exhausted. And they have to carry this stuff in and out. They have to carry, sometimes the leftover pieces are burned on the altar. Sometimes they're carried outside the tent, outside here, and maybe even way outside the camp. By the way, that would be miles, and burned in a clean place so that it doesn't happen inside there. And every single one of those things means something. Okay? So just as a hint of coming attractions, there's a verse in Hebrews that says, and they were thinking about how they have to carry all this stuff outside the camp and burn it up there, and it goes, and Jesus went outside the camp and was crucified out there. So every little piece means something. I don't know all the meanings of every little piece. I just know they all mean something. So the blood is sprinkled on...
How did they not get blood all over themselves? I mean, we think about it.
They did. And so Moses, there's a washing system for the priests to wash the blood off themselves because, I mean, I had blood all over me, and I was cutting up a deer, and it was all over the place. Yeah. So there's blood everywhere, and they, by the way, they do have a big sink. It's called the laver. It's probably a laver is probably how it says in Hebrew, but because I'm English American speaking, and I see L-A-V-E-R, I think laver, and it's this guy right here, okay? And it has a way where you can fill it with clean water, and then it has like little spouts, and it drips into this bowl pan thing, so you can wash down there, and it constantly has clean water. But it's not hooked up to a well or a pipe or anything, so it has to be constantly refilled. So that's a job that has to be done. There's constant need for wood. That's a job that needs to be done. There's constant need for cleaning up the mess. That's a job that needs to be done. So there's a lot of work involved in this. And so he goes and he puts, and then he does all these things. You can read all these details. And he takes Aaron, and this is very unique. And he takes some of the blood, and he sprinkles some of the blood on Aaron's ear. Right? And then he puts some of the blood on his right thumb. And then he puts some of the blood on his right toe.
Big toe.
On his big toe. Yes. With the exception of one other time, I have never seen, and I haven't found yet, any time when the person who is offering the sacrifice gets blood on him. The blood gets on the altar, the blood gets on the horns of the altar, the blood gets poured out at the base of the altar, the blood gets sprinkled on the tabernacle, the blood goes into the Holy of Holies eventually and gets sprinkled on there. But except for the initial, yes, we want to do this covenant when he sprinkled the people, when you go in with the sacrifice, the blood does not go on you. Except for this time, it goes on the priest. Incredibly interesting on this one. I didn't find a direct spot where it said exactly what that means, but I did find several commentators who told me what they thought that meant. And since it's all pictures, the blood from the crown of thorns would land on his ears. The blood from the nails would land on his hands, and the blood from the nails.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay? Don't take that as hard nosed for sure. I haven't found that in here. I have found that with a lot of commentators. Okay? But it made sense to me. It made like a picture. And now Aaron is going to be legitimately a priest. He has this on him. He is a picture of what Jesus Christ is going to do. Day 2, well, they do it to the sons. They do it all over. It takes all day long. The people are standing there. By the way, there's also another thing going on, and I haven't figured out how it fits into the days of the timeline. But each tribe brings a huge set of offerings. Like the leader of the tribe of Judah is going to bring, and I can't remember the details. It's in Numbers, I think, chapter 7. And he's going to bring 5 bulls, and then he's going to bring 10 lambs. I'm kind of making up the numbers here, so you'll have to go check. He's going to bring 7 oxen. And can you imagine killing that much and butchering that much and dealing with that much in one day on one place? Then the next day, the leader of Ephraim is going to come and bring all that again. And then the next day, the leader of Zebulun is going to come and do it. And it's going to last for 12 days. Plus, what's going on with the priests? Plus, the lamb in the morning and the lamb in the evening. There is lots going on. And Aaron has to do, and at one point in this chapter, it says that Moses did everything exactly how God commanded him. Okay, so you read over the chapter. Would you like to be Moses and not make a mess up on one single little thing? Yeah. 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 I mean, I can't even, wash my dishes and get it in the dishwasher correctly without one of them coming back with a spot on it, How would I possibly do something like that? Think of your life. How often do you do every single thing in anything you know of to do perfectly? So that's what Moses had to do. So the day is finally over. They're exhausted. Aaron and his sons are not allowed to go home. They have to stay in the courtyard. Do they have bedding? I don't know. That's one of my first things. And my next question is, where's the bathroom? Yeah. So how's that? And if they can't go out, and that's a holy place. So I tell you what, I have questions on my list. Okay, the next day comes, day 2, they have to repeat the whole thing over again. Because Aaron is being majorly set aside as that mediator. And he is a direct type of Jesus Christ. All right. So they have to do it again. All the sons have to do it again. Everybody does it again. And they go through this whole long process of all these details over and over and over again. And they have the morning sacrifice and the evening sacrifice, and then whoever's the leader of whatever tribe is next brings in all their sacrifices. And I'm exhausted. And then it's evening. And they cannot go home, and they stay there, and they do it again. And they do it again and again and again until they've done it for 7 days. At the end of 7 days, Aaron is considered officially, ceremonially clean to be the high priest. 7 is the number of completion. So to do it 7 times means God has completed it. Did that? Okay, so day 8 comes. Day 8's exciting. Day 8 is the day that Aaron gets to do his first sacrifice. So he gets to walk in and do his first sacrifice. But I want to read something to you before we jump to Aaron's first sacrifice. So turn to Hebrews. Chapter 5. Hebrews is written to, like I told you, believers who have a strong Jewish background in the 1st century, about the time when all the persecution's coming down really hard, Many people estimate that the book of Hebrews was written to the Jewish believers living in Rome near the end of the 60s. In 64, I think it was, Nero burned, or Rome burned, excuse me. Nero burned Rome. That's not established as historical fact. That's just what they think might have happened. But Nero did blame it on the Christians. And the persecution of Christians has gone from pretty okay to boom, like that. And you guys know the story, what happened. Well, if you were a Jewish believer, and you, by the way, being Jewish is still legal in the Roman Empire. So if you go Jewish, you and your family are safe. If you go Christian, you and your family are not. Would you want to be in that decision? So the book of Hebrews is written to those people to encourage them not to go back and to go that way. And I thought, what if that happened in our country? How many of, I mean, not going to say how many of us, I'm going to say, how hard would it be not to be more silent? Or you take your children and your grandchildren and you make a stand and you just wait to see what happens. You're going to get a lot of feedback from your family on that. So this is what's going on in Hebrews. And so the people of Hebrews, in the letter of Hebrews, these Jewish people, and I know I've told lots of you, but for those of you who are new, they were, when you were a little kid and you were learning to read, your first little reader was not See Jane Run. Your first little reader was the book of Leviticus. So, you learned how to read on the book of Leviticus. So did you know these rules? Oh yeah, inside and out. You had them and had them and had them. As a matter of fact, many of them, by the time they were 13, had to have Genesis through Deuteronomy memorized. There's 50 chapters in just Genesis. One of the chapters in Deuteronomy is like 60 some odd verses long. I mean, in Leviticus. That is, would you like to memorize? And this is what you do with the blood here, and this is what you do with the blood here, and this is what you do with the blood here, and then you pick it up and go here, and then you do this, and then it's repeated again, and then it's repeated again. These people know this book, Leviticus, inside and out. So when the person who writes Hebrews writes to them, and he makes little thought, it grabs pieces from Leviticus, their brain pictures the whole thing. Our brain reads Hebrews and we go, blah, 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 blah. That's because we don't know Leviticus. Their brain reads it and goes, oh my goodness. So now that you know a little bit about how the priests are done, read chapter 5 with me. For every high priest taken from among men is appointed on behalf of men in things pertaining to God, in order to offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. He can deal gently with the ignorant and misguided, because since he himself also is beset with weakness. Yes, I would think that Aaron would be very gracious to those people who had sinned, knowing what he has done publicly in front of everybody. And because of it, he is obligated to offer sacrifices for sins, as for the people, so also for himself. You see, Aaron had to go, and every time Aaron sinned, he had to do a new sacrifice. And he doesn't get to do anything in private. You go, okay, what you doing today, Aaron? I'm bringing in this bowl. Oh, what'd you do, Aaron? People are people. And he has to keep doing this. Because the man doesn't stop sinning. And no one takes this honor on himself, but receives it when he is called by God, even as Aaron was. Aaron probably did not volunteer. When God said, hey, who wants to be high priest? Aaron's hand did not go flying up. So Christ also did not glorify himself so as to become a high priest, but he who said to him, and this is quoting Psalm 2. So, by Leviticus, they don't have Psalm 2 yet, but by Hebrews, they do. Okay? So, these Hebrew, this is written to the Hebrews. He's quoting from Psalm 2, and Psalm 2 in their minds is definitely a messianic psalm. It's not like he's just pulling some psalm out and we go, what psalm is that? You know, this is a messianic psalm. They know that, all right? So, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Just as it also says in another place. So this is another psalm. This one's 110. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. Okay, stop, hold on. Messiah, that's Messiah. They know that. Messiah is from Judah because he's son of David, lineage of David, house of David, priest only from Aaron, which is Levi. Okay? If you were reading that and you were reading through the Psalms and you were a good, fairly paying attention Jewish person, you would go, wait a minute. This isn't working. So God had told them, the Jewish people in the New Testament, back in Psalms, David's time, 1,000 years earlier, Messiah, who's going to be from the line of Judah, is also going to be your priest. He is going to be your mediator. And that should have floored them. So now when the Jewish people in the time of Nero are thinking about, but did I have Christians on this side? Okay, thinking about going back to this and leaving this, he's reminding them of that verse. And he's saying, you are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. All right? In the days of his flesh, he offered up both prayers and supplications with a loud crying and tears to the one who is able to save him from death. They knew the story of the Garden of Gethsemane. That's what this is referring to. And although he was a son, he learned obedience from the things which he suffered. I love the fact that the human part of Jesus Christ had to choose and learn to be obedient. Because I can identify with that. And if he knows how hard that is. Can you imagine sitting there out in the wilderness and there you're on a rock, you have not eaten or drank any water for 39 days. And you're coming up into day 40. And this person comes by that you know, by the way, and says, what about just a bite of bread? You know what he could have just done? Boom, you're out of here. Wiped out Satan forever. But he learned to obey his father. And his father wanted him to know what hunger and obedience felt like so we could identify with him. I hate being hungry. I have the hearts. I have done fasting once in a while. Let me say it's not my favorite thing. And I get through it, but it is not my favorite. I really like to eat. I don't need to eat a lot. I just don't want to be hungry. It's just one of those things. So I cannot imagine 40 days. And I have been in the wilderness in Israel during the heat. It is awful. And I mean, I couldn't get out of the bus without my bottle of water. Just to walk out and look up at Qumran, you know, and just stand there we were there for all of 45 minutes. Remember?
Yeah.
It was a tad bit hot.
Yeah.
And we're going, where's your water? Everybody got water? And the bus driver wouldn't even let us off the bus. Everybody got water? And I'm looking out there and I'm thinking, 40 days and 40 nights without water. Here. It was unreal. Yeah, so he learned obedience through the things that he suffered. That's nothing compared to what he really suffered. And being designated by God. Look at this. You're Jewish. You're in the first century. You know your Leviticus. You know your stories. Being designated by God as a high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. Now, you guys don't know the name that just dropped yet. Maybe you do, but he just drops a big bombshell of a name on him. And we'll pick it up there. Guys ready? Okay, so we're on chapter 9. And if the 8th day is starting, I sort of jumped the gun on the 8th day a little bit. We're on chapter 9, the 8th day is starting. And as Aaron gets ready to do his first sacrifice, he has to do another sin offering for himself, because he is now functioning on his own. So he is going to kill the animal, and this time he will do the killing of the animal, and it will be for him. So he's going to start like that, and then he goes through the rituals of the sacrifices. I think they do 4 of the 5. They're going to do the burnt offering, the grain offering, the peace offering, and the sin offering. The guilt offering, they're not doing it this time. Maybe it's nice, should you kind of combine the guilt and the sin offering? I've noticed that it doesn't, they're not always clean cut as to what is used for each one. Okay, so they've got 5 main offerings in there. It's not always cut and dry. This one goes to this one goes to this. They're used in and out. Just letting you know that. It's not always, if you read through it and you go, why are they doing that one for that? It's not always cut and dry. So he's going to offer that for him and his sons, and they're going to go through the process again. And he has 4 offerings. One is the grain offering, and he goes through that. And then they've already had the morning lamb. They've already had their bull, their ram, which ones are they in chapter 9? They have an ox and a ram, and they have a calf and a lamb. And yes, they have the male goat is his sin offering this time, and the ram is his whole burnt offering this time. And then he's going to have the elders come in. When he has the elders come in, that's the leaders of the tribes. Okay, so these are all your, if the tribes were states, these would be all the governors and the leaders of the tribes. So they're going to come in, and he repeats the whole process for the leaders of the tribes. This is one day, right? He repeats the whole process. Then he's going to repeat the whole process a 3rd time for the people. This is to get the people ready. This is the first week was getting the priests ready. Now this is the day of worship. This is the 8th day, it's the day of worship. And when it's ready and when they're done and they've gone through it all, God is going to appear. Okay, so everybody's there and the light appears. And I think that's in, where is it at? He offers there's so many things, so many details, I'm jumping all over. So when he offers the bread and it goes up as a soothing aroma, that means it's accepted. When God says it was a soothing aroma, he accepts the offering. That is a picture of propitiation. Remember I put that one on the board last week?
I always thought that God really loved the smell of it.
Yes.
We must. And it also says he laid on the breast and then the thighs and healings of the animal, right?
Yes, he's going to put the bread. He's going to put the bread on the meat. And then it's all going to go up. Okay? They don't eat this. Remember I told you the peace offering, the fellowship offering they get to eat? I don't think they eat this one. You read through the details, but I don't think on this day they eat this one. And get all those to the Lord. You can check that and see if I'm right on that one. Because I have been reading ahead and planning ahead, so my brain is mixing up the different ways all the different sacrifices are being done. So that one, and the soothing aroma, and yes, it does smell good, okay? Here's your soothing aroma. Here's your basket of bread. Here's your big old yucked out animal that has been killed.
What was that?
Right?
What kind of animal?
And here's your big altar, okay? And there's the horns on the altar, and here's the horns on the altar, and the horns on the altar, and it goes down like this. And you get a picture? Okay, they're going to take a ton of this blood, and they're going to put it here. They're going to they put it on his ear, his thumb, and his toe. That's this one, sorry, right? If you're looking at me, that looks like the right hand, but it's not. And then they take the rest of the blood and they pour it out at the base. Okay? Later on, there's going to be blood they're going to do with other things with this blood.
There's gonna be blood everywhere.
There's blood
Oh
everywhere.
my goodness.
How much blood is in all these animals?
Everything touches.
We don't
Let's think, you know, blood. Yeah.
Is the ground?
It's like that.
Is the ground? Yeah.
I guess.
It's like, is it like?
There would also be a ton of leftover ash, right? You guys have wood stoves? Any of you have a wood stove? You have to empty that wood stove all the time, or when you open the door, the ash falls out in front of you, lands on your floor, right? So there's this ton of ash, they have to haul this ash away. There's all kinds of rules for that, like and I'm not sure which way it is, but they change their clothes, they haul the ash away, they have to take it outside the camp, and I'm not exactly sure if that means outside the tent lines or outside the whole camp. But it says outside the camp. So, and I looked that up and I didn't find a clear answer on that. So my guess is kind of outside the whole camp, but I'm not sure on that one. So there's lots of work here. So it's a good thing he's got 4 sons. And it's a good thing there are other Levites. So in the tribe of Levi, there's Aaron is one of the 4. So in the tribe of, so you have Levi. I am way off topic. Anyway, he had 4 sons. Okay, and one comes down to Aaron. See the whiteboard and spelling. And I can almost pull out the other ones, but these guys do different work in the tabernacle that is not related to the sacrifices. So like when they get up and move, when the cloud moves, it says, okay, it's time to move out. We're going to head towards the promised land. The cloud moves, it gets up, gets off, and goes over there. Oh, we got to pack up. Imagine packing up. Okay, so one group gets wagons, and they get to carry fence fabric, all right? And they get to pile it all up on the wagons. And one group carries something else, and I'm not remembering at the moment. And one group doesn't get any wagons. They have to carry the actual furniture, and that's why the furniture has bars on it, because you're not allowed to touch it. If you touch it, you will die. Anybody remember the story of David and the guy touches it?
He thought he was
Okay.
helping
He thought he was helping,
because it was falling.
but it wasn't supposed to be on a cart.
Oh.
So it's falling off the cart. The furniture's never on the cart. The furniture is carried on the Levite's shoulders. So one of the groups carries, okay, you're marching for a long ways and you're carrying these heavy things. And by the way, somebody in this whole complex is carrying Joseph's sarcophagus. Because it's going with them. All right? And then you got all the kids and all the stuff and all the moms and everything you own, and you got your own tent and da 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 da. So this is a big deal. Okay?
Now, were they able to put these things down in any place, or did they have to stay until they got to the place where they were?
My guess is, this is a guess, that they could not put the Ark of the Covenant down until the tabernacle was set up and they could walk in and put it down. So whoever these, and I can get the name of which group it is, but when they carry it, they get there and the pillar of fire stops. So they're camping there that night because that's how they know. They don't have a map, and they're gonna sit there and hold it until the other guys get there with the carts, or maybe they're ahead, I don't know. There's an order, by the way, of the hike. So who goes first and who goes second. I think the ones carrying the furniture did not go first. So the tent would be set up, and then they could go in and put it down. And then they put up the curtain. This is the one time when, and they still don't see it. It's not like the Ark of the Covenant sitting out there. It's got a cover. They never see it. You never get to see it. All right? That's one thing right there. They never got to see any of this stuff. So they just carried it. That's just, so anyway, these guys all have duties inside the tabernacle area to bring in things and whatnot. And later in the story, do you remember when Joshua conquers the land and the one group of people don't want him to conquer their city, so they pretend that they're from far away and they come in and they do the fake thing and they deceive him and whatever. And so, and he gives his word, he will not attack you. So even though that wasn't, he has to stick with his word. Okay, so God gave them a punishment, those people. And the punishment was hauling water and hauling wood for the tabernacle. And I thought to myself, what a gracious punishment. He just pulled these people in to constantly see, as they bring in the water every day, what's happening inside the tabernacle. As they constantly bring in the wood every day, it's like going to church. It's like he's making them go to church. And they have to see what's going on. And it turns out way, way, way later with King Saul that they are the ones who are following the Lord more than King Saul. It's a cool story. I love that story. I'm so off basis. All right, reel it in. Okay.
You were on 9:24 where they finally came out and they all.
Yes.
The joy.
The glory comes in. Glory comes and it shows, and the people, their reaction, and this would be our reaction. They all fall down and worship. This will be our reaction. Even in Revelation, John, who has known Jesus, saw him in the transfiguration, sees him in his glory, and falls down like a dead man worshiping. It says that in the first chapter of Revelation, right? So they are all like, whoa, this is so cool. And then fire comes out and consumes the sacrifice. That is called acceptance. That's propitiation. Propitiation means God is satisfied with the sacrifice. It means I will take it. He will accept it. If this didn't happen, then the sacrifice doesn't work. It's really important. You will read, if you're reading through Romans chapter 3, or if you're even reading through 1 John chapter 2, it'll say he is the propitiation for our sins. That word is in your Bibles, and it means that God accepts his sacrifice. What if he had done all that, and God did not think it was a pleasing aroma? That wouldn't have, yeah.
Is that why it was so hard for them to believe that Jesus was the ultimate? Because they had things that were acceptable and not.
It's so hard for them to get out of the ritual. It is so hard for them to get out of the ritual. It really, really is. And I'm not a big ritual person, so I don't personally identify with that very much, but I can see the problem that people who are very much in rituals would have a very hard time coming out of that and seeing that what the rituals mean. So that's what the book of Hebrews is trying to say. It's trying to say, hey, you guys, you know the rituals, this is what it means. Don't throw away what it means to keep the rituals. That's what that's trying to say there. So the fire comes out, and this is a big point. When the fire takes it, and the fire burns it, my next question was, how did the earlier sacrifices through days 1 through 7 get burned? If the fire only comes out on day, there's got to be there's got to be some more fire there somewhere. I can't answer all those questions, but my brain goes through like, okay, what about that? God, what about that? And we have quite this conversation, God and too. But he does. His fire comes. This would be equivalent to Jesus yelling out, "It is finished." Okay. So if you want to say what is the type of the fire coming out and accepting the entire whole offering, it is finished. Isn't that cool? I just like, wow, got really, yeah. What I also think is so cool is it is finished happens before he dies physically. Because it is finished is said, and then he says, into your hands I commit my spirit. So it was not his physical death that finished salvation. It was his spiritual death, I guess you would call it, when he takes our punishment, that finishes salvation. Or he would have had to die first and then yell from heaven, "It is finished." Right? So yes, it's the death of Christ, and yes, you teach that to all the kids, and you teach that to anybody who's new, but technically, it's not his physical death of his body that provided our salvation. Lots of people died on crosses, so that wasn't it. Okay. It's a very big point. It's a very big. The glory, I thought I'd tell you about the glory. The glory moves in. The glory has moved in when the tabernacle was completed. The glory is now showing. We're talking about 8 days. Time has gone by. The glory will stay there until Eli's sons take the Ark of the Covenant into that. You guys know who Eli is? He's the guy who raised Samuel from the baby. Okay. Eli is the priest. This is later on. They're losing the battle against the Philistines, and Eli's sons, Hophni and Phinehas, and they are going to take the Ark of the Covenant out of the tabernacle and carry it into battle, because the Lord will fight for us. That is so much not following the rules. Yeah. So they lose the battle terribly, and the Philistines steal the Ark of the Covenant, and the glory leaves. Yes.
Define glory.
The glory is, for lack of a better way to define it, the presence of God.
Because it's very confusing. It sounds like it's a glow.
It probably is a glow.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say, here's the Ark of the Covenant. And here's the long poles that hold it, okay, one on either side. Got it? Okay, here's the angel. My quick thing. Here is an empty spot. This is called the mercy seat. The word in Hebrew is atone. So this is it's atone, the atonement seat. Okay, that's the word kippur, like Yom Kippur. Okay, Day of Atonement. That's the mercy seat. Inside here is okay, the covenant. It's inside here. And the atonement sits on top of the covenant. Why would you have to have atonement sitting on top of the covenant?
Because they never obeyed it.
Because they can't do it.
They proved that we can't do it.
They can't obey it. So the atonement has to sit on top of the covenant. Okay, so now looking here, when God moves in, this, by the way, also is what they consider the throne of their God. Okay, so this, there is no body, God has no body. So this would be, if this was an idol, this would be where they would put their idol. All right, he isn't an idol. If it was a king, this would be where their throne is. There's his seat, right? Hey, that's not what it is. So it's way different. So the best I know, is a huge glory, a light that is so bright that if you look at it, you will die. Okay? Later on, and I'd be jumping the gun here, but if you guys don't mind repeating, later on when Aaron does have to go in here, he brings in a pan with coals, and he puts incense on the coals. And the incense is designed to create a cloud. And the cloud is so thick that as he walks in with the cloud on the pan, it clouds the glory so he doesn't die. To go, all right? Yeah. Now, when they're moving it, the glory goes up, it's in the pillar of fire and the cloud up above in the air, so that I'm not exactly sure how they do it, but they've got to go in there. I do know at one point they go in there backwards, and they cover it over without looking at it, okay? So that nobody sees this. And once this is put in here, nobody saw the Ten Commandments. Nobody. It's inside there. It's all this glory. Now the glory, this light, comes flying out of the tabernacle on the day 8, first day of worship. And they are like, I mean, I can imagine, it's kind of like Peter, James, and John at the Transfiguration. But how do you respond to that? You know, when we get to heaven, I can't wait to fall down in front of the Lord. I just think that'll be absolutely wonderful. How exciting that will be to be in God's literal presence like that. Okay, so, and then the fire comes out and takes burns up the sacrifice, and that's propitiation. It's accepted, it's working, and after that, Moses and Aaron go into the tabernacle, the holy place, the outer room, not the inner room, the outer room, and they survive. I mean, I can imagine being Aaron's wife. Is he gonna come out? And he comes out. And they make it. And they live. And then they have the evening sacrifice. And then they have all the sacrifices that go with what the leaders of the groups are bringing on that day, which remember those I told you, and that's going to go on, and that's going to go on. So the work is never done. As a matter of fact, the work is never done. They go to bed exhausted, they get up the next morning, they start over again. The work is never done. Aaron is the one person who doesn't get the Sabbath off. The work is never done. And there's a point to that, because the sacrifices only pay for what's so far, sin so far. Next day, somebody in this huge crowd's gonna sin somewhere, and probably all of them. And they gotta do it all over again. And it goes on and on and on and on. So before I tell you, there's a huge event that's going to happen on the end of day 8. Before I tell you that, I think I better tell you about Melchizedek. Okay? So we got to go way back in time, before Moses, before even the Israelites are in jail, in slavery in Egypt, go back 500 years. And land at Moses. That's a rounded off number, so don't count it out exactly. So Abraham. Land at Abraham. Sorry, my brain. Land at Abraham. And Isaac hasn't been born yet. None of that has happened. He's in the land. He is, here. I get this out of here. You ought to see the pictures I draw for kids. You know, some people write really nice, neat notes all over the blackboard for their kids. I am all over the place. So let's pretend this is Israel, and here's the Sea, and here's Sea of Galilee, and that goes up there, and they are not. Israel is not in the land yet, okay? As a matter of fact, that's not there yet. All right? I'm not sure where the river goes out. Maybe it goes out all the way to the Gulf that goes down into the Red Sea. But there is a city right here called Salem. There's a city down here called Hebron. And this is the most fertile, beautiful valley in the entire area. Okay, so Abraham's there. He's got a lot, his nephew. They've got so much wealth. Their wealth is not in bags of gold. Their wealth is not in money in the bank. Their wealth is in cattle and herds. And they are millionaires several times over with cattle and herds. If they actually have money in their hands, I don't know that they do. They have cattle and herds. They have so much that Lot's group cannot interact with Abraham's group because they're getting the sheep and the lambs and everything's all mixed up. There's too much. So they decide to split. And Lot It's his choice, and he takes this. In the middle of this area is a town called Sodom, and a town called Gomorrah. That's not how you spell Gomorrah. That's like word Gomorrah, just put it that way, okay? Yes, now there's 5 other guys, 5 other main cities down here, and they each have kings, and one of them is, anyway, they have put Sodom and Gomorrah under their control and make them pay taxes. All right, so they're paying taxes, and they're paying a lot of money to these guys down here. And all of a sudden, the king of Sodom says, no, not going to pay taxes anymore. That starts a war. So these 5 guys, I'm just telling you the background for Melchizedek, okay? These 5 guys attack, these 5 kingdoms attack these guys, take Lot captive and his family and his wife, and they take him way up here, past Dan. As a matter of fact, if you keep going north, you'll get to, why do I lose names sometimes? Anyway, they're up there past that, and here's Abraham down here. And he hears about it because somebody escapes and tells him. This is all Genesis, 14? So, Abraham puts a group of men together, and he has 380 or something like that. And he goes up there, and he rescues Lot and his family, and he rescues all their possessions, and he brings them back down. And when he comes back down, he is so grateful that God has helped him. He goes to the only priest there is in the area. And that priest is the king of Salem. And his name is Melchizedek. Okay? So he is, look at this, he is a priest and he is a king. He is the king of Salem and he is the priest to the Most High God. So he is a king and priest. Melchizedek means comes from Melchos, and it means king. Zedek comes from that, it means righteousness. So he is called the king of righteousness. And Salem is where we get the word shalom. So it means peace. So he is the king of righteousness and he is the king of peace. Melchizedek is a strong type of Jesus Christ. Says so directly. Directly, he is a type of Jesus Christ. He represents Jesus Christ. There are several things about Melchizedek that are very specific. First of all, there is no record of his genealogy. It does not say he has parents. He's a real human, so he has parents. There's no recorded parents. Okay? You can't find his line, you can't find his ancestry, you can't find anything. If you did a DNA test, you would find nothing. Okay? There's nothing. You do not know where he came from. There's no record of his death. Okay, so now Melchizedek is not alive right now. So I'm telling you, he did die sometime. All right? There's absolutely no record of his death. There's no way, even back in those days, there's no way to say, okay, King of Salem died, his son, da-da-da-da-da, is now King of Salem. None of that. There's no record of his death whatsoever. So the picture was that he gave the picture of someone who had no beginning and has no end. So that's his type. You see that? Okay, if you want to go literally, yes, he's a real human. Okay, but that's his type. He's a picture of someone with no beginning and no end. Okay, turn in your Bibles to Psalm 110. And here's going to be the big point that the author of Hebrews is going to make. There's all kinds of cool stuff in this. But he is going to say, and this, by the way, is a messianic psalm. Okay, so you can tell by verse 1. Look at verse 1. It says, "The Lord said to my Lord." For the Lord to talk to my Lord means you're talking God to God. You got that? It's the only way that can come out. "Sit down at my right hand till I make your enemies a footstool for your feet." That is the prophecy of Jesus Christ ruling the world in the end of times. Okay, go down to verse 4. "The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek." So Jesus is like that. Now, the people, here's your Jewish people in the first century. Psalms has already been written. They go, that has been the most confusing psalm I have ever heard of. Because the only way you can get a priesthood is from Aaron. And he dies, and he dies, and he dies, and he dies, and it just keeps going forever because each one of them died and another one is born and takes his place. And that is the Levitical priesthood. Okay. But God said, no, there's going to be enough. And you know what? God never tells and says an oath, swears an oath for any of these guys. God doesn't stand there and go, on my word of honor, Aaron is going to be your high priest. God doesn't say that. God does not, quote, swear an oath for that. This is going to be so big in chapter 6 of Hebrews. Okay, so cool. And they're going to sit there and their minds are going to be blown with the way the guy writes Hebrews to them. But so Aaron is constantly, this is the Levitical priesthood for Israel. Over here is the royal line. And that comes through Judah. And that goes down to David. That's why Messiah is called the Son of David. All right, this never happens. Okay? Unless it's done after this kind of priesthood and not that kind of priesthood. It's really cool. So he's going to set that up now. And then, because they're going, oh, wait a minute, that's not going to work. God can't do it that way. He's going to say, all right, listen to this. This is your chapter 7 of Hebrews. He's going to say, okay, do you remember when Abraham was here and he runs in, he comes down in this whole story? Well, what he does is he goes before Melchizedek, the priest in the area, and he gives offerings to Melchizedek. Thankful offerings to Melchizedek. All right? Here's the rule. You give offerings to him. That's in the law. You give offerings to your Levitical priesthood. What? When they took the sacrifices in and they cut it up, a huge portion went to the priests. That's their offering. You give offerings to them. You don't give offerings to kings. That's called taxes, and they did not consider the taxes the same as the offerings. Okay? See the difference there? All right, so now, then he's going to make this huge point. He goes, wait a minute. If Abraham gave offerings to Melchizedek, and his grandson is Levi, then did Levi in position give offerings to Melchizedek? And they're going to say yes. It's in Hebrews 7. And he's going to say, that makes this higher ranking than this. And they sit down and it blows their mind. What kind of letter is this book of Hebrews that got sent to us? And we're going to turn that down, take this old method like this, and then he's going to go on and he's going to say, this guy lives forever, your new priest who's going to be Jesus Christ, who is a king and a priest. He lives forever. So we don't have to go through this and this and this and this and this. And as a matter of fact, his sacrifice worked forever. Aaron had to re-sacrifice for himself constantly. He had to bring in a sin offering constantly. I mean, we just went through 8 days. He had one on every single day. And then it's finally time for him to do it, and he has to do it again. Okay? This is a huge moment. So, look at Hebrews chapter 7. There's more to this because there's a big point about God swearing. When I say God swearing, I'm not using God said bad words. Okay? Just in case anybody on the video thinks that. Okay? All right. Verse 1. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham as he was returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham apportioned 1/10 of all his spoils, was the first by the translation of his name, King of Righteousness, and also King of Salem, which means King of Peace. Without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days, they had no idea when his birthday was, nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, he remains a priest perpetually. This is all typology. Get that? Okay. Now observe how great this man was, to whom Abraham the patriarch gave 1/10 of the choicest spoils. For those indeed of the sons of Levi who receive the priest's office have a commandment in the law to collect 1/10 from the people, that is their brethren, although these descended from Abraham. But the one whose genealogy is not traced from them collected 1/10 from Abraham, and blessed the one who had the promises. But without any dispute, the lesser is blessed by the greater. And so to speak, through Abraham, even Levi, who received tithes and paid tithes, for he was still in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. Get all that? Do you see how the author of Hebrews has taken a package of information and just made it like the perfect attorney's defense of a situation. There's no way them to combat this down. There's no argument against this. It's just unreal. Now, if perfection was through the Levitical priesthood, if you could get perfect before God this way, for on the basis of it the people received the law, what further need was there for another priest to arise according to the order of Melchizedek? Why would God write Psalm 100, verse 4? if that was going to work. Why is that in there? Obviously, that's not the lasting priesthood. What further need was there for another priest to rise according to the order of Melchizedek and not be designated according to the order of Aaron? For when a priesthood is changed, of necessity, there takes place a change of law also. That verse is packed, because what's going to happen is the old covenant is going to be entirely replaced. What do you think the disciples might have thought when Jesus said to them, and he pours blood thing, he says, this is my body of the new covenant, this is the blood of the new covenant, which is poured out for you. You think their brains went to this? You think their brains went to the blood they saw that had still gone on all those hundreds of years. Whole new subject. The depths of this is blows my mind. How incredible is the new covenant? And here's the cool thing. We actually get to read it. They did not. There's more. There's so much more. Okay. For it is evident that I'm on verse 14. For it is evident that our Lord was descended from Judah, the tribe with reference to which Moses spoke nothing concerning priests. This is clearer still if another priest arises according to the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become such not on the basis of the physical requirement, but according to the power of an indestructible life. For it is attested of him, you are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. For on the one hand, there is the setting aside of the former commandment because of its weakness and uselessness, for the law made nothing perfect. And on the other hand, there is bringing in of a better hope, through which we can draw near to God. Do you realize that because this one is out and this one is out, that we can go in there without dying? They would have never considered such a thing. As a matter of fact, when the high priest does have to go in there one day a year, he gets to go in there. He is terrified. He's absolutely terrified, because if you go in there incorrectly, you die. So he has to go in there, and the first thing he does is he's got a thing of blood, and the blood is for his own sins, and he has the smoke and the thing and the blood, and it's like, I hope this works. But we can draw near. And inasmuch as it was not without an oath. You see, when Psalms was written, God said, how'd that go? Let me read it again. Oops, 10, 500. Okay. The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. In chapter 6 of Hebrews, it's going to say the Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. There's by two immutable things. First of all, God, if he says anything, whether he swears about it or not, it's going to happen, because God cannot say a lie and God cannot go back. So if he says such and such, that's for sure. That's immutable. Immutable means cannot be changed. And then if he says, this is true and I swear it's true, now you have God doubling down on two immutable things. You cannot get anything stronger than that. And the end of chapter 6 is going to say, by the way, that's our hope. That's our hope. How strong is that? So, we finish chapter 7. For the Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever. So much more also, Jesus has become the guarantee of a better covenant. That's the new covenant. For the former priests, on the one hand, existed in greater numbers because they were prevented by death from continuing. But Jesus, on the other hand, because he continues forever, holds his priesthood permanently. Now look, what is he doing with it now? Look at this. Therefore, he is able also to save forever those who draw near to God through him, since he ever lives to make intercession for them. Oh my goodness. I can wake up in the morning. I could go to bed at night, put it this way. Oh God, thank you for making intercession for me today. How many times did I say something offhand that completely offended somebody? Or how many times did I I still feel like doing it, so I didn't do it. Am I the only one that does that? I do that all the time. I just don't want to. And he goes to his father and he goes, that's okay, I'll deal with her. He makes intercession. You get it? Every single day. That's what he's doing sitting at the right hand of God. He's making intercession for them. He always lives to make intercession. He does not get to the point where he goes, all right, that's 17 times today. You hit your limit. Which is a really good thing. For it was fitting for us to have such a high priest, holy, innocent, undefiled, separated from sinners, exalted above the heavens. Look at this. Who does not need daily, like those high priests, to offer up sacrifices, first for his own sins, and then for the sins of the people. Because this he did once for all when he offered himself. For the law appoints men as high priests who are weak. But the word of the oath, which came after the law, appoints a son made perfect forever. There's more that's going to happen on this 8th day. It's a big event, crisis going to happen. And I will have to leave that for next week. And, yeah.
Can't we just do overtime?
I feel like you probably sat through enough.
So they have to do the offerings the morning and the evening, their own daily. And then there were the feasts that would change them. But, so they were doing offerings literally every day
Endlessly.
until they took
Until
their.
the temple was destroyed, yes. Yes.
Year long?
All year long, every single day. And not only that, you guys haven't mentioned all the times that the people brought in their offerings. Right? We did that through Leviticus 1 through 7. And every time that people thought, oh man, I've sinned, I gotta bring in an offering. Oh, I want a fellowship offering. Oh, I want a thankful offering. How many of those? And you think that maybe only one person out of 2 million a day did that? Can you imagine the millions of sacrifices? I can't, it's just unreal. So that makes the value of the one undescribable.
Indescribable.
Indescribable. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for having such grace on us that you gave us Jesus as our high priest, as King of righteousness, King of peace, as our King, as our priest, as our mediator. Thank you that you accepted his sacrifices and that we are atoned and you have been propitiated. Thank you for putting the story here for us, that we get to read it and hold it in our hands, because this is the new covenant in his blood. Thank you that it's 1,000 times deeper than this, and we have only barely touched the surface, but thank you for what you are putting in our souls right now in our appreciation of what you have done and what Jesus has done for us. I cannot even imagine anybody loving me that much. I just want to say thank you. In Jesus' name.